You all know this trend. Go to a fancy restaurant and your plate will look like a small mock-up of what you ordered. What's up with that? Now, we're here solely talking about the stereotypical higher-end restaurants and generalizing them, so keep that in mind. So, you can funnily see two versions of the economic principle of rarity. Of course, the price of the ingredient. There is a limited amount to be had in the world, and its demand is high in relation to what is being offered. On the other side, the plate is a simulation of that rarity because you might value more what very little you have on your plate because it seems so precious. No, but seriously, you might have heard of the philosophy of feng shui. Some do arrange the food in their served plates so they have an energy balance and flow look to it. Here's a picture for example. To some people, food is art. The plate is a canvas. They will put their soul into the creation of a complex artwork. For this art form, the visual is but the beginning of the experience. Many chefs try to master the capacity to entertain all the senses of their clients. It is very ambitious, but necessary to give an ultimate experience of enjoyment. Beyond the visual, their food must propagate a smell that will please the customers. They might decide to play a certain type of music with the proper room acoustics to maximize the quality of the sound. Perhaps have live musicians performing. Sure, the food has to have a nice texture too, but, well, your butt has to feel nice and cozy on what you're sitting on, doesn't it? Finally, the taste, no explanation needed. It's food. A few years ago, I went on a date at a nice restaurant. We wanted a booth because booths are awesome and they let you be a bit closed off from the other people present. So we talked gently for about 5 minutes, and then the waiter started pushing tables together right next to us to make one giant table. After that, about 20 young adults sat down at the table. They were mid-bachelorette party and already hammered, constant shouting and wooing. My date and me couldn't hear each other, and when we got our food, we just ate it quickly and got out of there promptly. We know they were having fun, and that's great for them, but the restaurant didn't have the proper accommodations to welcome such a group. Some restaurants have a secluded room where big groups can gather and make plenty of noise while the rest of the restaurant can't hear them. Sound control is underrated. Moving on. Market by Jean-Georges, it's a French name so you can already assume it's a fancy place, is a Vancouver-based restaurant that served meals in February of 2018 that were inspired by Takashi Murakami's art and style. Here are some of them. And here is Murakami and a quick view to his art style. An acclaimed artist, Murakami's art creations allegedly ranked 6th in the market in terms of price in a 2006 ranking by Christie's. Retroactively from all I've said by now, I think we all understand that we're paying for a performance, an experience. Food is just the premise. On this note, when you go to a concert, if the band played the same songs a few times in a row, you might get bored. Some similar logic could apply to what you eat. If your entire meal was a big serving of shepherd's pie, you might like the few first bites because of the initial burst of taste, but towards the end, you might be indifferent about the taste and just be eating out of fulfilling your hunger. Keeping each element short and leaving on a high note can be a good strategy to use. This also ties in to the philosophy of feng shui, where you need balance. It can't just be all the same. You need to have some mechanisms of counterbalance. I'll give a quote from Thomas Keller, an American chef, restaurateur, and cookbook writer. Our whole menu is based on the law of diminishing returns. The most compelling portion of a dish is in the first 3 or 4 bites. With the first bite, you're getting into it. By the second bite, you start to realize it. And it is at the 3rd or 4th bites you get the maximum appreciation and pleasure from that dish. And you keep eating because of that memory of it being really extraordinary. But was it as good as what it was the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th bite? No. So what he proposes as a solution is to have smaller portions. That also helps to have the customers to go out of the restaurant not feeling bloated. Using the same law of diminishing returns as Thomas Keller, if you go to fancy restaurants every day, they themselves might get bland with time. You might need to counterbalance to fully enjoy the times when you live that incredible experience. You want it to be an event. Consider not overpaying for your normal as well. All this being said, fancy food doesn't equate to good tasting food for everyone. We all have our list of things we don't like. Personally, I would fit in the fussy category. I trust every single one that knows me that told me I was on that one. Seems to be a solid consensus. I know some of you can relate, and I accept the lameness I have been gifted with. The foods we love or hate in taste are not a choice. It's literally out of anyone's control at the start. I say at the start because you would be surprised to know that the sense of taste is more complex than it might seem. We'll cover that in a future episode. Now, when preparing for the video, I almost forgot about manners. How could I miss that? It's one of the most important things when you go to a fancy restaurant, second to bringing a fat wallet. Here are the recommendations from the website Adequate Man. Link in the description for further details, as I will just skim through the general tips. First part, what to do before you get to your table. Look good, arrive early and check in early, get to the bar and get a drink. Second part, what to do when it is time to order stuff. Wrangle the menu, order for yourself, aka don't be afraid to order the weirdest foods. Pay particular attention to the small plates, ask questions, solicit recommendations, and be willing to follow them. Get the wine pairing, do not request substitutions. Third part, what to do when you are eating. Don't worry about all the forks. Compliment the kitchen as often as they deserve it. Put down the camera phone, and feel free to skip dessert. Fourth part, what to do when the check arrives. Tip nicely. And finally, a last overall tip, take your time. Now, I encourage you to evaluate these guidelines by yourself. Are they a solution for respect? To respect the restaurant and for people to respect you? I want to know what you think about unwritten rules in formal settings. Now, what was my position before making this video? I was always reluctant to go fine dining. I saw food as being a necessity to fuel my body, as well as something I could enjoy for the taste. I felt that people that go out to fancy restaurants to eat weird foods in tiny portions were only doing it to gain some sort of moral high ground, getting your ticket to be a high society member for an evening. My personal taste made me just like classic mainstream sit-in restaurants or simple bang for your buck indie places. My position after I made this video has changed in this area. I now understand that there is a genuine, passionate group that are fans of food art and love to explore the possibilities of unconventional cuisine. I still think that it is possible to experience new foods without breaking the bank, but I would still be leaving some opportunities behind if I fully closed the door on them. So, I think that moving forward, I'll be open to making events out of trying recommended high-end restaurants. I will never do it to gain a moral high ground, but to try to add memorable moments in my life. When I look back at past events, I know that it's most definitely possible to remember a specific meal forever. I still remember my meal from 12 years ago at François Premier restaurant, which is located in the historical attraction park of Puy du Fou, that's in France. They notably served royal wine in silver goblets, had some even if I was a minor, vive la France, and chicken cooked on swords. I saw the sword as the waiter brought it to the table with the cooked chicken still on it. There was an epic historical type theater play for all the visitors to enjoy while feasting. It was awesome. I wouldn't have had that incredible memory if I wouldn't have wanted to try it out. Unknown personal treasures are somewhere out there. We have to search for them and dig to find them. Sleep on it, you'll be wiser tomorrow. The concept of the day is the law of diminishing returns. According to the Business Dictionary website, the law of diminishing returns is a concept in economics that if one factor of production, number of workers for example, is increased while other factors like machines and workspace are held constant, the output per unit of the variable factor will eventually diminish. Dictionary.com defines the law of diminishing returns as any rate of profit, production, benefits, etc. that beyond a certain point fails to increase proportionally with added investment, effort, or skill. Leave comments. I want to make another video in the future that will revisit the comments that give suggestion to what was discussed in the video. You can add to what I said or argue against as well. That is the spirit of the channel after all. I want the content of my comments to be falsifiable. Vous pouvez rédiger vos commentaires en français et je vais les intégrer dans une vidéo qui fera un retour sur ce qui a été discuté dans celui-ci aussi. And of course, like the video and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I want you to be a part of the experience. We'll hopefully get wiser together.